So welcome to the third online Korean Art and Heritage Symposium organized by the Korean Cultural Society of Boston. So this is the third year online Korean Art and Heritage Symposium. And this evening will be the first lecture of the 2023 series. My name is Jiyoung Kim. Yeah, I will be the moderator of this event today and also the upcoming several events. I'm an art historian specializing in Korean art. So for the past few years, I have been teaching in different colleges around the Boston area. And this year I'm teaching in Mansell College of Art and also teaching at Brandeis University and Simmons College. So I'm so happy to be a part of this very meaningful symposium. That I believe that it started in 2021 during the pandemic, and for the past 2 years has provided this very great online venue where we all gather and learn about Korean art, culture, and tradition. And I know that this symposium introduced many talented artists of Korean heritage. So yeah, and so I'm really excited to join this program as a moderator. All the past lectures and artist talks can be found in the Society's YouTube channel. So today it's my great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Sungsook Hong Setton. She's an incredible artist working with the traditional medium of ink. She was born in Korea during the Korean War and moved to Germany, and she lived in many different places of the world. And she's settled down in the New York State. She received her BFA from the Stony Brook University, New York, and her MFA from the Vermont Goddard University. From 2005, she collaborated with many musicians and participated in many media projects. And in 2017, she published a book on traditional brush method titled "The Spirit of the Brush." Now she's working very actively as an artist and also exhibiting all around the world, including the US, Canada, Taiwan, China, and Korea. She's also teaching at the China Institute of New York and Art League of Long Island. So today she will talk about her inspiration first and the meaning of her work. But most excitingly, she will do a painting demonstration to show the way she handles the brush and create this amazing images using the simple but powerful medium of ink and wash. So before she start her presentation. Mrs. Setton, if you can just, briefly tell us how you started your journey, right, as a painter, right, and then how you became interested in working with this traditional medium, right? It will be, so it will be really helpful to understand your work.
Okay. Actually, when I was very young in elementary school, I was one time I was representative, I represented my school and entered some kind of competition, and I got some good, results. So I thought that would be my possible future career. But then, my parents gradually, thought that's not a practical. So I ended up going nursing school, and then as soon as I finished nursing school, I went to Germany. So then, but secret reason I decided to go Europe was so I can study some Western art, because at that time that looked so much more attractive. So, but then once I got some drawing classes and all this, I experimented different, Western art form. And I suddenly realized one day, oh my God, I don't really know what my background is original, what is coming from. So I went back to Korea, and then I began my calligraphy class. So that's, suddenly I found my interest on this traditional medium. So that was the early 80s. Yeah.
Early 80s. So you started working with this traditional medium after you moved out of Korea, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
that's
I,
very
I looked
interesting.
at, I mean, I traveled a lot in Europe and I really appreciated, European art, but
Mhm.
I didn't know much about my own background.
Yeah, right.
So came to my own question, what do I know?
Yeah, so very interesting, and I can't really wait to learn more about your like story and your art. So yeah, why don't we let Mrs. Setton like talk about her art? It's all yours.
So this is my topic tonight, Korean brush painting tradition and innovation. Actually, I left Korea, in 1972. So in a way, my whole journey is like a homage to finding my own roots. So my probably experience with Korean brush painting is probably limited. So it just, I'm really grateful this chance to get to, know more closely to Korean ink painters. So that was really best thing what happened to me. So this, my introduction, I categorize it like this. Pioneer means when the ink painting actually began. And then the second is the foundation of the ink painting is more or less in the learning technique part is for novel plants. And then the post-liberation, meaning after the Second World War, how the Korean artists experimented in their ink work. So, and then lastly, I will explain a little bit of my journey shortly, and then I'll include demo there. Okay, so that's the plan. And this one is the first Korean ink painting in a Joseon dynasty. What I was told is the actual ink painting in Korea was introduced in the late Goryeo period, but I don't see much records. So Joseon period was probably the most practiced in that regard. Angyeon, this particular painting, The Dream Journey to Peach Blossom Land, it's more or less, as you can see on the right side, the peach blossom here, this area here, garden. And this whole technique, rendering of the ink painting technique seems to be, I was told, he learned basically from this Chinese Northern Song dynasty, the Guoqi. So as you can see, Han Gyun's work is horizontal, but it's beautifully done. So this is the Kim Myung-guk. I love his bold strokes, combination with a very fine, kind of light tone of the face expression. Okay. So Jung-sun is an important person in ink painting history because he actually began the actual Korean landscape painting. He enjoyed painting outdoor. And as you can see, this one is Inang-san. This particular painting is you can see the view of the mountain is from the artist who lived in that house. And then the house, the view was from the outside. So it's interesting perspective here. So this is the Inang-san now. So one thing I found a little funny thing is, if you see here, this part, do you see the Michael Tyson boxer's face? So all these rocks are actually very interesting shapes. So I find it particularly the Tyson's face is interesting. The Lee In-sang is regarded as a pure literati artist. I particularly love this painting because he's, the very gentle tone, obviously expression of the winter pine, but I love the feeling of the calm. And he was a writer and calligrapher and painter. So he's a true literary artist. So Kim Hong-do is, he was a court painter, but he's well known. He's capturing the daily life of common people. Like this one is the dancing boy. On the right side, you can see how good he is in a figure painting, including some landscape background. This is another Korean figure painter, but Shin Yun-bok was more interested in this kind of erotic topics. I don't know, this literati is having good time, but I can guess. Okay, so Kim Jung-hee is, you probably all know, he developed his own style of calligraphy and he combined with the painting. So in this style of work, the calligraphy and paintings are kind of complementary, including their own poetry. This is on same person's painting. This is one of the national treasure of painting. This particular painting was created as a gift to his disciple. It's symbolizing, because at the time, Kim Jong-il was in exile in Jeju Island, and he's having a huge difficult time. So it's representing these two trees, representing him and his disciple, and holding together somehow. And you can see his brushstrokes are very dry, kind of very harsh winter. So he's going through in his life in exile. So you can imagine. So this is true, regarded as a real literary painting. Jang Sung-up. I don't know if any of you saw the Chiwa-son movie. It's in English, Drunken Brush. It's a very well-known movie. It's worth seeing it. It had the special prize in Cannes Film Festival. And this artist was born in Opan. He was very talented. He had no place to stay, but eventually, I mean, some important person, gave that support, and then he was well recognized, and he created enormous, beautiful work, and Flower and Bird, and a lot of others. So if you happen to see his film, his live film documentary, I think it's worth checking that out. Okay. So here in between, I added 4 noble plants introduction. This particular 4, noble plants, plum, bamboo, chrysanthemum, and orchid, it's regarded as a foundation of brushstrokes. If you want to learn ink painting, this is the topic you want to master, and then you get some idea of brush painting. Not only people loved this particular plant's look of it, but the symbolism of that, and then also symbolizes the season as well. So spring is the plum, and because that's the earliest flower to bloom, and it also symbolizes the strength and integrity. And bamboo, also the people love bamboo is because it's a hollow inside, and even wind blows, then they don't break it. They just keep your relationship there. The fall is the chrysanthemum is the fall, and summer is the orchid, the wild orchid. I think in this country people know. So if you talk about the plum, I need to introduce a famous Korean philosopher called Taege, his love of plum. On the left side painting is mine, but I happen to love the poetry of the plum. So this is the example. So in my garden, pine and chrysanthemum and bamboo makes a three-thumb. How can elder brother plum not to be one of them? I'll join together with you now, enduring wind and frost, so on, so on. Anyhow, as you can see, he really treated Plum like his own, another person, his friend. So he actually wrote about almost 100 poetry about Plum, and he has a book about it. It has a good English translation version exists. Okay. The Minyoung-ik is well known for his orchid painting. It's so graceful. It's so beautifully done. So he specializes more, I think, this orchid. He also did other things, other for gentlemen too, but I particularly like his orchid. King Jongje is another person who obviously he aristocratic background, but his beautiful, elegant chrysanthemum painting and the plum painting is one good example of, in those days, the literati or bureaucrat were practicing in their daily life. His calligraphy is beautiful too. So among the older, bamboo painters, I chose this one because it's quite an early period and I love his strokes. So very subtle tones as well as strokes are beautiful. Okay. So this part, I'm going very quickly. Okay. So this post-liberation, meaning after the Second World War and when Korea was liberated. So Songsunam, one of the early ink painting, the movement, he created this kind of modern version. Okay. Byung-gun-sik is one of the 6 greatest artists after the Korea was, liberated, and his scale and his composition and technique is so beautiful, so excellent. Texture, I like the textures, strokes, and then his cropping technique looks very modern to me. So Lee Sang-beom is another 6 major artists who captured this early morning in a Korean countryside. I tried his technique, but it's not that easy. It's so beautiful. He's well known to establishing his own technique. This artist, Young-no, actually left Korea early 50s, his life, and then went to Paris and settled in Paris. And he had a huge following of ink painting school he established. Although he didn't speak any French, but he was very successful. Okay, so here we are. This is the next artist, Chang Woo-sung. He's one of my favorite. I love his simplicity. And then on the right side, I think the title is the fall song, autumn song. And the left one is his title is Nomyo. But what he wrote on next to the cat's painting, I find it interesting because he said that there are many painters who painting cats, but he himself tried to catch angry cat's emotions. He had a very using old brush, and he wanted to capture that if this cat makes a big noise, then all the mouse will, meaning, the bad people in the society will go away. Okay, something like that. I don't know, maybe translation is not the best. Okay. This is a Kim Gi-chang's work. It's a bullfight. So you can see the bull's movement is interesting. It's beautifully captured. The tonality, and then this artist lost his hearing, but he's a kind of important personality in the Korean ink painting development. So I added this painting because it's very unusual using such a colorful color in the traditional ink painting. It looks to me very fresh, and it's very lovely. Seok is he was a calligrapher, but he is a name who was leading modernizing ink painting. This is one of his students, but I happen to know this artist who passed away 2 years ago, but I love he was one of also the modern movement group member. So on the right side is the dancing field and mountain and field. And his figure is also very beautiful. Brush painting is in a way coordinating how much water you have, how much pressure you do, and how quickly you do. The speed is something to do. It's a very subtle balancing act. That's my experience. But I love his looseness of his work. Lee Jong-sang artist is probably well known as because he created Korean money, about 5,000 won and 50,000 won. So he did a lot of portrait of important people, as well as he does also beautiful, this simplified or beautiful ink painting like that one. As you can see, it's a Namsan. On the right side is Tokdo. Yeah, this painting was a little difficult for me to explain, but he was more kind of color painting area. But this left side painting is something about concerning or worrying or something like that kind of title. It was in Chinese, wasn't that easy to figure that out. All right, but it was a unique. Park Daesung, probably Professor Kim can explain about his work. Right now in America, you can see his work everywhere, okay? And particularly, I mean, this painting is so dramatic, and I think it looks like a fisheye view. No, I was so impressed. His monumental scale of work was so incredible. And I'm looking forward to see his more paintings coming to Wang Center, in the fall. Kim Woo-duk is, he seems to emphasizing more intuition in ink painting. So his work doesn't take that long. He's very quick. And obviously you need experience first. You need to accumulate experience to get there. And he started painting on a cotton cloth. Hwang Chang-bae is, it's genius painter who combined Western ideas and Eastern ideas. And this top painting title is Kokodek. So you can see, so he combined a lot of things. He experimented huge different styles. I mean, it's fascinating, but fortunately he died very early. Kang Kyung-gu is trying to express his living forest. So you can see his idea was trying to make alive of his intensity of the forest. So all kinds of technique I can see in there. This artist also Kwan was interested in expressing the light. Usually in ink painting, they ignore it, less interested in expressing the light, but she was interested in it, and looks fascinating, and it's beautifully done, the different tonality. This Kim Sun-do, who teaches in Jungang University right now. Title of this work, this one is Entangled Blues. So he's actually, I can show you this. He's very interested in Chulchomang blues. As you can read his, so he's explaining about his work, like when the wire is straight in the beginning, but it gradually, if time goes, it changes the curve line. So it's like a blues kind of music, so husky kind of thing. So he was interested to capturing that. So he sees this wire saying more like a musical note, and then osanji, and then this magpie is a musical note, actually, yeah. So it's quite interesting that if he explained about his philosophy, maybe I don't explain properly, okay? All right, so this artist, Park Sun-chul, I love his figure painting. The way he uses a stroke is so spontaneous, and it's so soft, but expressing such an emotion of that person. It's so beautiful. This is the last Korean painter I chose. I was told this artist is right now is hot in Korean ink painting world. And as you can see, his topic is kind of very different than usual traditional ink painter. And it's actually fascinating. But I'm sure you will have to see chance of his work much more detail. So my journey, in terms of explaining my journey, is usually I begin nature studies. So if it's a bamboo, I study structure of the bamboo like this. So through outlining, you really learn the structure. And this is my table set up. It's called the 4 treasures of the studio: inkstone, ink stick, brush, and paper. Those are my major. Okay. Okay, this is you close up looking at some of the inkstone and ink sticks, the major. This is my instrument. I call it instrument, okay. All right. And this is my American students' instrument, okay. I had to compromise with the smaller and smaller. This is how you're grinding the ink. You have to do it upright. So this is actually important process, part of process of meditation part to preparing your mind in a way. This is a paper, different kind of observancy, different color. So this is my seal. So anyhow, my journey, actual journey, seal is, modern painters, they don't even use, but it's, traditional painters use. So my actual brush painting, painting a Western topic began in Oxford when I was living there. So this is the winter morning in Oxford. I used to attend a watercolor class, and I decided to take my own medium, and I painted my own thing. So when I came to America, this is the Central Park, is one of my topics. And this is, this particular one is the Giverny. After I visited Giverny, I painted from my memory of that visit. So usually I keep this kind of a visual diary when I traveling. This happened to be in Italy, Cinque Terre, so I keep it's the brush voice. So that was turned another my painting direction. This young man who came to me 15 years ago, he was studying violin in Stony Brook, and he wanted to cooperate with me. He asked me to paint his music. So I explored it. So you can see in here, very quickly, I want to show you.
Ardesco is an innovative chamber music ensemble that performs original compositions and classics to tell a story in light and sound. It combines the talents of 6 musicians, a lighting designer, as well as a production and video team. In Ardesco's second production, we collaborated with Korean inkbrush painter Sungsook Setton to tell a story of the search for a meaningful simplicity. Paintings emerge in a mysterious multimedia world in counterpoint to music by Beethoven, Stravinsky, Ligeti, Meyer, Zorn, Yoon, Goodbye to Lena, Robison, and Walker.
Okay, so share. Here we are. So after that experience, at that time, we didn't do it on site, but we prepared it in advance. And then another time we tried to do it live. So musician played, and then I was trying to paint their music. It's a different artist though, okay. But anyhow, the smaller group, this one. Okay. So this is some of the results of the demo. So we decided to put the musical title. And this is, you know, it's on the way there. So I do this kind of work, you know, and sometimes, some other times I do local flower capturing. So my process basically is kind of, in order to get the abstract, I usually use this kind of process. So in a yearning, and then I exploring, and then I do experimenting, and then I revert myself, meaning I paint entirely from memory. So that's, okay, that's just a quick explanation. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but so this is my presentation in a gallery setting. This is more recent painting, but the teacher I have right now is, when he saw my painting, he decided to write short poem like this. So this is a slightly bigger size work. Okay, this is it. Actually, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, and Mrs. Setton will do the painting demonstration, right? So while she's getting prepared, maybe if you have questions, you can write your questions or comments in the chat window. Do you think you can just do your demonstration right now?
Okay. So first I want to show you my basic materials. These are my brush ideas. And then this, the ink stone and the ink stick and paper obviously makes it the four basic materials what I need. Okay, usually people who never seen this before, I'll show you how it works. Okay, so you put the little water here, and then you grind ink. This ink sticks is made out of pine suit glued it together. So it's very gentle cycle like this. So this is the important process to prepare your mind. So you basically grinding the ink until it gets creamy. So it takes a little while. So here, let me just give you some idea. And brushes, I'm going to choose today slightly smaller one because paper is small. Koreans tend to use a larger brush. They like to, I mean, most teachers, they all go to larger straight away. Something like that, you can keep it, you know, like for a number of years. Whereas Chinese painters tend to go smaller brush. But anyhow, my American students like to do a smaller one. Okay, so I use this larger brushes for abstract painting, for music painting, more or less. So you can see I have a lot of different kind of brushes here. So it's huge, you know, a huge size. You can use a larger painting, music painting. I use this. Okay, so in broad cells, the white group, the white ones are known as softer. This is a softest brush. It's a sheep hair. These are all made out of different animal hair, but some are mixture. You know, the mixed hair, meaning you have outside white one and then inside has some brown one, has some badger hair or you know, the kind of different kind of strengths in there. This kind of brush here, let me show you some mountain holes, and then badger hair. There are different kind of stiffness. You create a different result. See, this kind of, this color hair, it's a stiffer brush. You see, it's much stiffer. So there's a lot of different kind of results you can get. So whiter it is, more softer here. So there's some of them, as you see, so some mixture here. Some inside has some strengths in there. So this is, I'm going to do it just 2 different kinds today. Okay, 3. All right. So you have so you bring the ink here. I'm using the ready grind ink here, and then you dilute the water. You soak it completely. This is to be, okay, you take it off. You take off the edges because otherwise it will be too wet. So you take off using this sharp, you make your brush nicely pointed like that. And then you prepare. So the way you hold your brush is kind of holding an egg inside. So if you do it standing up, you need to hold brush a little bit higher. So I'll give you some idea of basic technique with the orchid stroke is this. So in the reverse here, and then press, and then lift, press, and then gradually lift. So this is the one of the first stroke you learn when you go to ink painting school. So basically you do reverse stroke. It's an extension of calligraphy. You reverse first and then those, and then you continue, subtle press and lift. It changes the result. So that's the first step. And then, it takes, usually people spend one gentleman, one noble plant for 6 months, sometimes more. So you can see, so a lot of this, until your stroke is kind of gradually, left like this. It takes a little while to get the feel of that. Yeah, go all the way there. So so you get the, okay. So the pretend the 6 months is or 3 months is past, and then next one usually you can learn bamboo. So bamboo is like this. Depending on the instructor, some instructors teach you bamboo for 1 year because bamboo you can learn a lot. So this is the bamboo, stem here, and then thinner one obviously goes like this. You need to use this more center brush. And then the younger it is, you go a little more using the tip of the brush. So go here. And here you go. Okay. So usually the bamboo usually hooks up on this little guys. Little branches hooks up the leaves. Okay, so bamboo is hanging out here. Leaves are hooked up there towards the end, like that. And then you see the young ones goes up. Young leaves goes up. Older one goes down like people. And then here, this one is the backside one. And then obviously windy day bamboo is the most sideways. So like here. So this here. So that's the basic technique. So basically you are learning, the most important stroke is see, obviously the calligraphy you use only center brush like this, whereas painters use a side brush or different angle. It's much more flexible. So you can also use kind of split brush sometimes like this. When you do the pine tree, you can do it that kind of use, painters can do that. Or sometimes, they're all different. This brush has a bigger one, has obviously more choices. So there's so much there to learn. This is such a flexible brush. And then also the ink tone, obviously, you go towards the end. I'm just going to go. The knot is here. Knot goes with the dark ink like this. All right, I don't think we have any more time.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Setton, for your wonderful presentation. Very informative, and also very engaging, like presentation and also demonstration, right? So you can keep writing your questions, but I have so far I have just one question from Julia Lee, and she asked, "How do you make the brush stroke thin and thick?" Yeah.
Oh, thin and thick. If you press it more, so for example, all right, I will go to. So if you press it, you see that the thick and thin controls is how much pressure you do. So so if you want to do thin brush, you have to lift your brush using only the tip of the brush, very tip. So here you make a big mess because my brush is too wet. So brush painting is all control of how much water you have in your brush, how much pressure you do, and how quickly you do changes the result. So if you press it hard, like here, you make it thicker brush stroke. You have to press it harder. So then you get this thicker one, and then thinner one, obviously you go using more tip of the brush, but then you have to take it out enough water, so to make a dry brush. Okay, so also the more wetter your brush is, if you move faster, it's less bleeding. So it's a lot to do with coordinating all these different, three major different elements I mentioned to you. Okay.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Sanjay Lee. What is your personal favorite subject to paint?
Oh, I like landscape. I like flower too, but I also happen to like the abstract ink painting too, because it's so much freedom there. But it looks easy, but it's not that easy. So my basic musical note is a poor gentleman, poor noble plants strokes. Unconsciously, more you practice, that comes back, that comes unconsciously in your abstract work if you happen to try. Yeah.
So you don't paint any figure paintings? So you
I do. Actually, I do. I painted a little while lots of musician series, and yeah, it actually I enjoyed a lot. I enjoy painting musicians, and yeah, I had a big result one time. The one cello studio was using my painting as a logo now in Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And do you use different type of paper for different subjects?
Oh, yeah. In broad sense, in a beginner level, I would say beginner level, you use more observant paper. So it will give you a harder time, the more observant paper. It's called a hwasanji, or but then you have a Korean paper, which is 장어지, like a sunji. This has a fiber in it. It's mulberry paper. This one is kind of semi-size. So this one is very good for landscape. But you can also, some artists use this paper a little more expensive, but it lasts longer. So some people like to use this. So these are, in Korea, people use it to, 장어지, to cover the door. Yeah, it has a very strong paper here. So it's called the hanji.
And yeah, so actually, sorry for my personal question. So is there any difference between Korean paper and Chinese paper? Or do you have any preference?
China, they have all sorts of, in broad sense, there are three kinds of papers. One is totally raw, which means very observant. So it goes, straight away, you can see. And semi-size, meaning there is some sizing in it. And then there's a full sizing in it. It's more like, if you want to do more fine line style artwork, you need a certain amount of sizing in it, because you can go very detailed and then you can do layering it. But in a brushwork, traditionally, either this semi-size or raw paper is more, favoritized. Yeah. The detailed style, like a mina painting, like folk painting, you need a sizing in it, because they have to do the layering. In ink painting, you need a very thin as possible. I mean, this raw paper will give you a harder time in the beginning, because to train your hand. But it's such a beautiful, subtle observancy between, to me, this freestyle ink painting is no comparison, okay? But it requires more patience to learn the technique in the beginning.
Yeah, and then I have another question. Maybe I can take a couple more questions. What would be the essential difference of Korean brush painting from Chinese or Japanese brush painting?
Yeah, I mean, different art critics says different things, but in general, Koreans, it's maybe you can compare maybe woman's makeup, like Korean women tend to not to do, so much makeup, more natural kind of, whereas, Chinese, they are exaggerating more, and I think we all know that certain Korean aesthetics are very different from China and Japan. Japan is more, it's Korean tradition. I think general tendency is they like more dry brush. They like texture, less pass, they're more natural, more spontaneous, or more think difficult to explain exactly. Individual differences are also quite big, but
Right.
in general tendency, definitely, like
Yeah.
what I mean, like buncheong and
Yeah.
Korean pottery. You have that. You're better to explain.
Right. So what you're saying is there's no fundamental difference in terms of the technique, right? But I mean, you have different like fields, right?
Yeah.
Aesthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Koreans tend to do less makeup, I think.
So more natural, right?
Yeah, more natural. That's
Mhm.
how I see it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good answer. And Jane Lee from Facebook asks if oh yeah. So during your demonstration, I also noticed that when you were making your brush stroke, you were supporting your hand with your left hand, right?
Oh yeah,
So
because I can tell you why. Because your energy flows better. Because brush painting is you need to do it everything one go. It's like ice skating. When you doesn't succeed, you have to start all over again. You have to stand up and do it again. So if you do it like this, your energy continues flow. Whereas if I do it here, then the energy stops here. This way, somehow more you practice, your intention, it's actually the end of your tip of your brush is continuously flow. Yeah. So,
okay. Yeah.
so
So it's more like the entire energy is flowing from your body to the tip of your finger, right?
So mind and body kind of coordination, it's regarded as a mind and body therapy. There's ink painting. It's actually ink meditation in ink, in other words. It's such a honest art form because whatever you do, it shows it straight away. You can't hide yourself.
Yeah, I think we can have just one more question out here from Kathy Kim. So she thinks that your abstract painting looks like watercolor because you're using a lot of like colors and
No, but probably because the influence of West, because I see more color, and maybe my audience, I'm more conscious to audience too, but maybe I shouldn't be. But now lately I've been returning more, ink as well. So.
Yeah, and I also noticed that even before you collaborated with the musician, your painting looked very rhythmic and musical. So yeah, I was wondering if you have any like musical background, but
not really.
Not really.
I actually, after I collaborated with the musician, I found out I'm a musician too. I only doing music with the brush. What's the difference?
Right. Exactly.
That's how I felt. So I changed my artist statement after that. Okay.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. Yeah. So we spent a lot of time, and then it really went quickly, right? So thank you so much, Mrs. Setton. Yeah. So this I'll just have to end our official like event today, and thank you so much for coming to our first lecture, right? And then please come to the other lectures that are happening. I mean, every month, every first Thursday, right? So thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.